Hi.
Yep, that's me. Just a completely normal dude. Last week I covered the LinusTechTips allegations, as well as the company's original response. However, the response video did not address any of the allegations made by Madison, a former employee, about the toxic work environment they were allegedly fostering. Both Linus and the CEO of his company have made it pretty clear that they are not going to comment publicly regarding specifics of Madison's situation, as to not disrupt with the ongoing third-party investigation. However, while I was streaming, Linus did upload a new video titled, "Here's the Plan." In it, Linus goes over what his company has been doing over the last week. He says they've been dedicating their time to improving their operations, their due diligence, and he clarifies some aspects of the company culture, seemingly as a way to semi-address some of the more hysterical comments concerning how Linus Media Group treats their employees.
To everyone who wanted to see us rise up from this better than ever, thank you for being willing to criticize something that you love in order to make it better. I want to address everyone who wanted to see us fail. We're here for you. We're not going anywhere. And you're going to have to deal with that.
I'm now going to give you a brief summary of the allegations and criticism levied at Linus's company, and then I'm going to just play the majority of my reaction because it is a very tight video, with Linus being pretty to the point. I will interrupt where I feel like clarification is needed though. So, here we go. For context, just for those who missed last stream, a video by Gamers Nexus was released that was hypercritical of a lot of the common practices that were in LinusTechTips videos. People go to LinusTechTips for opinion on newly released products, okay? They want to receive a reliable opinion, one that is accurate and a reflection of reality because they're, trusting their money with their opinions. And Gamers Nexus kind of showed that they are not the best source by a mile in terms of actual quality of information, statistics, or even just care when it comes to reviewing products, okay? And on those counts, initially Linus basically posted a long blog post that was very defensive, but then a more corporate video got released apologizing for that blog post and, saying we're going to do better, pitting a lot of the errors on Linus. And there was still a lot of backlash. They monetized it. There was a couple jokes in there. People thought it was, too humorous because there was also basically sexual harassment allegations, specifically that when an employee by the name of Madison reported being harassed both sexually and managerially, that when she went to the HR department, nothing was done, okay? Basically, this Madison woman was stating that Linus and his company failed her when she felt she was being treated improperly.
For starters, along with our reduction in video output to get a handle on all of our new quality-focused process changes, we have officially killed the haven't missed an upload in 10 plus years mentality, and we've made it explicitly clear that if a video is not ready for prime time, we're going to stop the presses until we've had a chance to make the proper fixes. Now,
that's a good change. That makes sense. Holy shit, I didn't realize they had that. Don't miss an upload. And they've done it for 10 years. That'll put pressure on just shitting out a video. That makes sense.
We've created a clear rubric that defines error severity and prescribes the appropriate fix, which can range from a pinned comment to a full reshoot or even the outright cancellation of the video.
If any of the following types of errors are discovered prior to filming, during script review, fix them before the shoot. Low severity, the statement could possibly be misunderstood, but it's generally true and most people would be fine with it. Okay, so if it's basically technical error, but it has no real impact on what you are conveying. No pinned comment. High severity, statement is incorrect and a significant portion of the audience could be misled. Videos replaced if possible, according to YouTube policy. Otherwise, set as unlisted and disabled monetization until corrective action can be taken. Very high severity, the statement is very incorrect, basically the opposite of correct. Video removed or remade. Okay. He then goes into the specifics of how they're going to vet info on their hardware tests.
Every video with labs testing will be checked by labs 1 to 2 times before shooting, and then an additional time after the video has been edited. Any show-stopping issues found during these reviews will do exactly that. They will stop the show. You guys deserve better than what we've delivered up until this time, and that's what we want to give you.
And then he goes into how they're handling past videos with incorrect information, sloppy data, or egregious errors.
After our internal reviews this week, we have unlisted and demonetized multiple videos that contained erroneous data, and we will be updating or otherwise issuing error corrections on others. You'll find a link to it.
Interesting, bro. Seems like they're taking the Gamers Nexus criticisms very seriously. We'll see if it's lip service in time, obviously, but man's showing me spreadsheets, bro. It's gotta be sophisticated. I just want to add here that the Billet Labs video that sparked a lot of controversy in Gamer Nexus's video is still public, which likely is a conscious decision and kind of a statement from Linus or his company that they felt their errors weren't egregious enough to warrant it being taken down. Either that or it, I guess, is an error. But yeah, Linus then goes on to announce a new program called the ECC Squad, which is basically just like a public early access vetting forum for like their community to call out bad info before it goes public, which is really boring. But then I saw something incredible.
I mean, we've got a video coming up where I'm fixing my computer and I run.
Holy fucking shit, this guy's tall. What the fuck? Or Linus is a little boy. Shout out to our short kings, bro. You're gonna rule the world one day when all the air in the atmosphere is completely toxified. Those 7-foot motherfuckers. Bye bye. Shout out to my 5'4" kings. Represent. I'm with you. Anyway.
Sometimes the full treatment isn't necessary, but we're going to make sure that we are clearly communicating that to you. Moving on to the business side of things, there's not much changing here except more transparency. And that's actually a common theme throughout all of this. That's why we have the sponsor complaint thread on the forum, for example, which we've now committed to providing weekly updates on. And that's why we had our internal sponsorship guidelines, which now you will find linked down below, available in public. That's also why we brought in an experienced manager, Taryn, who is off-site this week, or I would have brought him in to chat with you guys as well. There are some other changes we've committed to.
Fuck you, chair. Fucking whatever, Taryn. I respect, bro. Enjoy your time with your family. Linus, I don't know even why you made that comment. He then directly addresses how they're going to prevent the error that led to Billet Labs' prototype being auctioned off from happening in the future.
I do think one of the most pressing things that you guys want to hear about, though, is that we have revised our process for item tracking to a heartbeat system that requires our procurement team to follow up pending projects and update their status. They didn't do anything wrong before, but this should help to avoid any confusion going forward around items that start out as we don't need it back and then turn into a loan later on. I do not want to see something accidentally end up in the Christmas party pile or any other don't need it anymore pile again.
Anyway, this is what they offer. They contribute 1% of employees' eligible earnings, regardless of personal contribution to their GRSP. In addition, LMG will match personal contributions up to 5% of eligible earnings. No deductible, 89% coverage for prescriptions, no annual maximums. Fuck, man, I wish I had this. I really wish I had this. Yeah, this is good. 80% coverage for chiropractor, physiotherapist. Wish I had that. Psychologist, social workers, dietitians, etc. Hearing aids, speech aids. Okay. Dental, no deductible, 100% coverage for dental accident, 80% coverage for basic work, 50% for major work, 50% coverage for orthodontic. That's all pretty solid. Not insane, but solid. He then goes into employee lifestyle and how they try to foster a positive community, with him mentioning
proactively host regular team building events, including Summer of Fun, which gives every full-time local employee up to $300 to spend on any activities they want with other members of our team, bi-weekly gaming nights in the lounge with free food, weekly badminton nights, bi-weekly softball nights, and a quarterly budget for department-wide team building events. We organize occasional surprise field trips where people are paid to have fun together, and our Christmas parties are legendary, with surprise bonuses that over the years have included free laptops, wild raffle prize hauls, and $10,000 in bonus money per person, not once, but twice on that last one.
So he's now getting into the kind of company culture and employee treatment side of things, which seems to be more addressing some of the hysteria and vitriol brought on by Madison's allegations, and really doesn't have any concrete bearing on her allegations themselves. That being said, though, he does provide some apparent data that would indicate his employees are satisfied.
Earlier this year, we also asked our HR team to conduct one-on-one meetings company-wide to identify key issues and do a temperature check to see how everyone was feeling.
All right, engagement. Do you look forward to coming to work each day? 4 to 5 people said yes. Do you think your manager listens and values your opinion? 4.6 out of 5 said yes. Do you feel the culture here is motivating and positive? 4.1. Do you feel you're given enough feedback? All right, I guess feedback, it's more, uncertain, but these are all passing numbers, so whatever.
In June, we laid out a roadmap for many of the improvements that we had already made or planned to make based on the one-on-ones. Now, for those of you paying very close attention, you probably heard me mention our HR team, which isn't consistent with the impression that many people seem to have of our structure here. A portion of our community...
The Verge reports that Taryn Tong said that an outside investigator will be hired to examine harassment allegations at LTT. This is only acceptable solution. Hire an outside team to manage HR and have Yvonne step down as head of HR. She has not been head of HR. As she stated in the apology video, Yvonne was the head of finance currently, sorry. She is in charge of the finances. She was the person you would go to as HR. Is Madison the one that came forward? Yes, Madison is the woman who made, claims against Linus and his company effectively, okay? He did not directly address her claims, but effectively her claims were that she got crunched to shit. She needed to basically, grind the fuck out of herself in order to keep up with the output. That nowadays, there's a full team doing what she was doing, okay? So keep that in mind. Madison was working there when they were rapidly expanding, okay? So obviously a lot of what he is saying that is in place right now, it probably wasn't in place at that time, okay? And number 3, what you need to keep in mind is she was claiming basically that she was actually harassed in the workplace, both by her managers and just sexually by like coworkers. And that when she would voice these concerns, nothing would happen, okay? There would be no corrective action. And she ended up quitting of her own volition the company. So that is, the very, very watered down claims. And Linus doesn't directly address any of them. He kind of more so seems to be talking about the current state of the company, focusing on that, rather than, the state of the company back then. But it can be interpreted as him kind of, semi-refuting or, arguing against the fact that Madison, I guess, had a bad work experience. That, or he's trying to kind of imply like she had a bad experience, but that's not indicative of the majority of the people who work here. You know what I mean? Here we go.
Community seems to think that the only option to report grievances here is to your boss or to your other boss. And I just don't really know what to say other than that is simply not the case. There was a time when we were very small, and yes, I did handle all the HR complaints. That was years ago, and the same is true for Yvonne. In 2018, we passed 25 employees and we engaged an outside HR counsel to advise us on what we were doing right and what could be done better. In 2020, we grew to 40 team members, and we brought in an outside HR firm, making them available to all employees if they needed to talk to them. This was on top of the usual recommended conflict resolution steps of discussing your issue with the other person, talking to your manager, talking to their manager, talking to ownership, or filling out an anonymous feedback form.
Yeah, so this is exactly word for word what he was reading out in the leaked HR meeting that was released, okay? So this is where he got a lot of juice because people were saying basically, if someone reports sexual harassment, you shouldn't have them, tell people to handle that situation on their own. And then obviously, if you direct them to the HR department, which is Yvonne, the partial, married to the owner of the company, or if not an owner herself, I would just call her an owner. That obviously can be, conflict. And they have another external HR firm that you can basically consult. The thing is that you might have to go through, the internal HR in order to get to the external, and that if the internal HR is telling you to handle your own fucking problems, that might cause a problem. Anyway, this is what they got a lot of heat for, effectively.
Anonymous feedback form. Then, as we approached 100 team members, we added a dedicated in-house HR department with the goal of providing even more resources to our team. To be clear, Yvonne and I do both still have an open door policy, so team members do still have the option of talking to us directly if that's their preference. And I don't know how to emphasize this enough. Everything that I just talked about existed before last week. This is not some kind of knee-jerk, reactionary corpo nonsense. The one exception, the one new thing, is the emergency upgrade that we made to our health plan. In recent weeks, a shocking number of our team members have been harassed, bullied, and even threatened on social media. So, effective September 2023, we have doubled our coverage for mental health counseling.
This seems to be a direct allusion to the fact that a lot of people have been speculating which employees or managers were harassing Madison. She mentions one individual who was specifically awful to her, and as I mentioned in my first video on this, people have been kind of combing through old videos with Madison, trying to parse which employee it could have been. That's kind of why in my first video I pointed out that this is just not a good move and should probably be avoided, because we really can't know just based on what's public.
All I have to say, other than that, is that if you're one of the people who engaged in this behavior, I refuse to refer to you as members of our community. You know who you are, and shame on you. Not one of our team members deserved that.
I'm not sure if he's referencing anyone specific here, but obviously there's been a ton of content released recently by creators levying very harsh criticism at Linus. But when it comes to, I guess, specifically targeting employees, there have been some people who have used the allegations to take aim at Linus's managers. The one specific case I took note of was of Nick is not Green's brother, Austin, who really didn't hold back.
If he responds publicly to mild criticism by whining and using confusing, vague language to placate his community, it can only mean that leadership within the company is treating the people below them whose salaries they're paying even worse. It's real nice, Linus. You're hiring and paying people to grab other employees during work hours. You must be glad that you spent all that money on the huge new lab warehouse. It's way more room for your managers to grope employees in. Men are freaks, but like, how are you going to be a man working for a social media channel in the 2020s using phrases like calm your tits? Genuinely go on a hike somewhere and don't come back. It seems like a few of the managers at LMG had a weird vendetta against Madison, on top of being extremely predatory, creepy guys in general. If LTT is going to survive this at all, they're going to need to purge more than a few people.
He's not the biggest creator, and there's certainly a lot of other people, you know, making similar, very cynical content. But yeah, I imagine that videos like this, on technically unsubstantiated allegations at people who aren't even named, could contribute to the hysteria, you know, leading to harassment. So I don't imagine that would be like Austin's intent. And taking this stance might incite, I guess, positive action toward employees. It does kind of fuel a fire of wanting blood, you know, looking for people to pin the blame on.
She describes the company's work from home situation. Work from home was a whole issue. If you took 3 minutes to answer a personal email, you could get in trouble, which happened to her. If a manager ever got mad at me over taking 3 minutes to reply to an email, I'd dox him on the LTT main page. It's impossible to write off these experiences as untrue. Nobody would be able to lie in this much detail about trauma they personally experienced. I really commend Madison for coming forward and confronting her abusers in this way. And I hope it empowers others to come forward and identify who these predators actually are.
Regarding the claims that Linus has fostered a crunch culture where employees are working themselves to the bone, this is him kind of addressing that crowd. Okay.
Regarding our workload, we work hard here. I've never denied that. But we also aren't running some kind of deranged Twitter 2.0 ultra hardcore operation. This is the morning and night surveillance footage of our parking lot at the studio for 5 workdays leading up to our week of introspection. We offer some flexibility around start and end times, so you'll see that...
Oh boy, fucking hell, this doesn't... I don't know what I'm even looking at. This is the end of the day. Okay. Alright. So around 5 p.m., okay, so it's right. I understand. So he's showing that nobody's going to be left after 6.
We offer some flexibility around start and end times, so you'll see that some people roll in starting around 8:30, and then, as you can see, the ones who arrive later are typically gone by around 6:30. There are exceptions. That Friday, you'll see, we were filming up until the WAN show. Thanks, guys. Also, our cleaning contractors come in after hours. That's their van, so that they don't disrupt production. And sometimes folks will stick around if they need a big space for tabletop gaming. But to characterize our environment as some kind of 24/7 sweatshop is, frankly, ridiculous.
Okay, this is definitely a bit hyperbolic from Linus. It's clear he is reacting to the most cynical detractors, kind of like Austin Green. But when it comes to the claims by Madison, she specified she was apparently asked to do some of her social media management from home after hours. Once again, because it was supposed to be the fun job, something that monitoring the cars wouldn't really account for. But yeah, I just keep in mind that this is Linus talking about the current state of the company.
We also do work overtime sometimes. We're in a competitive industry. It happens, and I've never denied that either. But we care about our team.
I'm not sure if he pays them for the overtime. I don't know. It just, like, if he does pay them for the overtime, I feel like he would have mentioned that. And if he doesn't, it would make sense that he wouldn't.
Yeah, I looked it up. It's illegal to not pay overtime in Canada. And especially at their scale, I don't imagine that Linus is getting away with this if he isn't paying them. This might be the best time for me to mention Linus's position on unions, because I do think it's kind of interesting.
I've made it very clear in the past that I feel that if our staff felt like they needed a union, I would consider that, and Yvonne too, we would both consider it personal failures. Here in Canada, there's absolutely nothing that we'd be able to do to prevent it, legally speaking. So if they decided that they wanted to approach their engagement with their employer that way, there's absolutely nothing that we could do to challenge them on it. It's actually sort of baffling to me that it is possible to have such blatant, like just brazen anti-organizing policies in place in our neighbors to the south. I don't get it.
As far as big business owners go, this is one of the better takes you'll hear, okay? A guy who owns a business as big as Linus's with so many employees is not going to advocate for unions, okay? He's a very interested party, very biased, so just keep that in mind.
There's a lot of legal protections for employees just in general in Canada. Like my wife and I joke sometimes it's easier to get a divorce than to fire an employee. Like it's actually very difficult. So I don't really feel like they need additional protections, to be perfectly honest with you.
Canada's definitely not an employee utopia.
I know that in the States, particularly in states where they have at-will employment, it's a totally different story. There's basically no protection whatsoever. You can just dismiss someone for any reason at any time, and they're entitled to like nothing.
Yeah, it's not true.
But that is not the case up here at all.
Yeah, he's definitely overstating how easy it is to organize in Canada. There are plenty of companies who employ all the tactics they legally can to avoid unionization. And while it would definitely be harder for Linus to employ these tactics, since it's such a big company with so many eyes on it, publicly traded companies with an obligation to shareholders, and just private practices where people have to unionize according to their specific skills, and people are uneducated or don't have a fallback if they lose their job, it can be extremely difficult.
Laddie says, the thing is, every bad boss in the world says you don't need a union, I'm a good boss. The reality is sometimes your interests will not align with your staff, and relying on you being a good guy is them taking a risk. Being in a union doesn't change anything. If you're a good enough boss, the union never needs to be involved. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not going to see eye to eye with you on that. I agree that a lot of bad employers probably would say you don't need a union, but in our case,
And have, yeah.
we are
And actively do.
Yeah, we're constantly trying to figure out how to make LMG a better place to work. That's not going to change.
In the vast majority of cases, unions are a good thing for the employees. That's just a fact. Especially at companies where workers are really paid like shit and do largely manual labor, not being unionized can really fuck you because you have no leverage. Or benefits, potentially, if you chip your fucking tooth slipping on ice while carrying a sandbag. As a tech company though, it's bringing in a solid amount of money. It's pretty standard for them to not unionize nowadays.
No, it makes sense that they work hard and they work a lot, and a lot of people like jobs where they're very busy and they have to do a lot. But yeah, when it was clearly impacting the labor, it feels like he might be a little bit kind of trying to downplay how much he was expecting of his employees, when there are literally videos of the employees saying like, we put out too many fucking videos. You know what I mean? It's good that moving forward he's going to keep this in mind, but it doesn't seem like this was really a priority prior to this. But yeah.
From 2013 to 2023 inclusive, our average turnover rate
In terms of employees being let go or leaving, just leaving the company effectively,
was 7.5% with a median value of 7.7. Those numbers include both people who resigned their positions and people who were dismissed.
Right.
For context, according to workforce research firm Mercer, the Canadian average is 18%, while in the US it's around 20%.
Yeah, that's not nothing. He's basically saying we're better than the average company. He's basically saying like we're not as bad as most. But since we're a media conglomerate and we have all these fans, we might get a little bit more, scrutiny.
We have had 2 years over that span that were less than exemplary, but even then, we were lower than average. Removing the people who were dismissed from their positions, we fall to 3.65% average, 1.9% median. Being a media company, our departures are a little louder than most, but in the grand scheme of things, I hope you guys can see that the numbers show there really aren't that many of them. But with that said, we have heard you. As part of our unwavering commitment to improve, our turnover may rise as we take decisive steps to do better for you. To be clear, this is not supposed to be stressful for the hardworking members of our team. We have no plans for layoffs. We're even still hiring. Our rainy day fund is going to comfortably carry us through this storm. The vast majority of this team is world-class. They care so much about our community and igniting passion for technology, and they are going to be.
Maybe I speak from ignorance, but it's hard to imagine a job working for a business like LTT doesn't sound like it would be that hard of a job. Yeah, I would work for LinusTechTips. I'll be straight up, bro. Like, as long as it's something that I'm relatively decent at, yeah, I would definitely work for him. He was saying basically his employees have been harassed and targeted, which is unfortunate and kind of surprising. I guess not super surprising, though, with the amount of vitriol. So let me just take a look down here. Good to have you back. Happy to hear the commitment to improved accuracy. Oh, and Venom, nice. Glad to see things are heading in the right direction. The business management side of LTT is sometimes more interesting than the tech stuff. I trust you guys, you made mistakes, but I believe you'll rectify them. 15 minutes of gaslighting while threatening employees at the end because this all came out. Outstanding. Y'all got me into computers and now I'm working at a computer shop. Okay, so with that being said, I'm not sure how I feel about Nick is not Green's brother, Austin Green. How one-dimensionally he, approached the LinusTechTips situation. Effectively the ultra negative perspective. Again, you can be hypercritical of a company, especially of a person for sure. But I would urge caution when it comes to allegations specifically, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's the difference. You can see things happening, form an argument around it, and then present your opinion. And you can do that with allegations too. But I would, in my opinion, be extra cautious about doing it with allegations that aren't necessarily verifiable, right? Hey, people can speculate, people can do as they want. So, maybe I've even done that in the past. I'm not sure. But, yeah, that's my 2 cents. That opportunistically jumping on the negative side can be potentially dangerous. But that's like a sneak diss on Madison. Cat Brat, I would hold off. I don't know. I don't want to say for sure that he was sneak dissing Madison, okay? I really can't tell. But obviously he knows that a large part of this situation is people talking about the workplace culture around LinusTechTips, right? And so a large portion of this video was kind of dispelling or trying to kind of dispel the sentiment that LinusTechTips treats their employees like shit, right? Do a Q&A, you fuck. JRP, you gotta give me, with you and your multi-millions, since you are literally Joe Rogan penis, you gotta donate $10 and then I'll do a Q&A, you little weasel. Yes, JRP, I demanded $10 from you for being a little weasel and being the penis of the richest man on the earth. JRP, ask your question, bro. Ask your question. Go ahead. I'll give you an answer. Might not be the one you want, though. JRP, you literally came in here with the hottest attitude, and you're getting a little bit back, and now you're like, oh, YouTuber abuses me. Yes. YouTuber uses me for money. Yes. YouTuber killed my wife and kid. Yeah. YouTuber locked me in a cage. Yeah. YouTuber entered. Ah! Hope you're enjoying your time, Mr. JRP.
来到了啊，开秦王宫啊！